Have you ever wondered why the church today doesn't look or behave like the community in Acts 2? Why a people that claims to continue Israel's story often resembles a corporation more than a covenant family? This is Church Incorporated, Church Inc., when Israel became other. The New Testament frames the church as a continuation of Israel's covenant story. Romans 11, Galatians 3. Acts 2:42 to 47 shows a communal, Torah-shaped witness living together and sharing resources. But after Constantine's conversion in the early 4th century, Christianity moved from persecuted sect to imperial church. Imperial favor brought hierarchy, legal status, and administrative forms copied from Roman civic life, Eusebius' ecclesiastical history. A majority Gentile church began reshaping worship, calendar, and leadership away from Israelite patterns. The olive tree language of Romans 11 reminds us that Gentiles are grafted in and are not a replacement for Israel. Institution, inquisition, and the scattering of Hebrew lineage believers. As the institutional church sought unity, it developed councils and mechanisms to police doctrine. Yahusha warned against religious power concentrated in leaders. Matthew 23. The early house churches, Romans 16, 1 Corinthians 16:19, contrast sharply with later centralized authority. Medieval inquisitions and ecclesiastical courts suppressed Jewish Christian practices and other Hebrew-rooted expressions. See records of medieval inquisition. Many Hebrew lineage believers were marginalized, hidden, or scattered, removing living memory of covenantal forms from mainstream Christianity. Colonialism, empire, and the business of conversion. From the 15th century, European imperial expansion carried a church entwined with state and commercial interests. Missionary efforts often accompanied colonial governance. Padroado agreements, missionary societies tied to imperial funding, and church structures mirroring bureaucratic and commercial models. Prophets in Scripture insist on justice and covenant faithfulness, Isaiah 2, Micah 6. The New Testament warns about false shepherds, driven by profit and popularity, Matthew 7:15 to 20, 2 Corinthians 11:13 to 15. The global church began to adopt denominational boards, corporate governance, and fundraising practices modeled on Western institutions, shaping theology and practice to fit imperial aims. Theology, denominations, and the mutation of covenant identity. Doctrinal systems further fragmented continuity with Israel. Medieval scholasticism, Protestant confessions, and especially modern dispensationalism divided Scripture into eras, often separating Israel and the church rather than seeing continuity. See John Nelson Darby, Schofield reference. Prophecies about regathering and a reconstituted covenant people. Ezekiel 36 to 37. Jeremiah 31, Zechariah 8, Romans 11 were sidelined, spiritualized, or appropriated. The prophetic vision of a remnant, native-born and grafted in, forming the last days covenant community, has been obscured. Scripture even cautions about those who claim to be Jews and are not, Revelation 2:9, 3:9, complicating how restoration is read and embodied. Questions for leaders and the discontented. To those who ache for a biblical congregation, do you feel a divide between the covenanted people of the Bible and many churches today? To pastors and leaders, have you felt helpless, wanting to return to biblical patterns, but trapped by denominational rules, bylaws, budgets, and survival logic? Is Yahusha treated as utility for ends, like influence, money, or popularity, rather than the end himself? Consider Acts 6:1 to 7. Practical reordering preserved witness in the early church. Could similar courage reshape governance today? Read Ezekiel 37 and Romans 11. Ask yourself, where are the scattered bones in our assemblies? Where is the grafting? If the New Testament envisioned a kingdom, people continuing Israel's covenant, what would it take practically and spiritually to become that people again?